What is up, everybody? So this is going to be a shorter video in response to one of the most frustrating consensus football opinions out there, in my opinion, and that's that seemingly everyone, fans and analysts alike, seem to think that Cam Newton, former Panthers quarterback and NFL MVP, can still play at a high level, and that it's ridiculous that he has yet to be signed by an NFL team after being released by the Carolina Panthers. Now, those of you that have been around me in this channel for a while now likely aren't as surprised by this, but I felt the need to make this video as a clean snapshot as to why Cam Newton has not been signed, why NFL teams are completely in the right to not want him, and why, quite frankly, Cam Newton will very, very likely never be a starting caliber quarterback again. So ultimately, I'm gonna use the film here to show you why I feel that way, but let me just list some raw facts here first. So Cam Newton has extensive injury concerns, likely far more than any free agent currently on the market. He's had 2 major shoulder surgeries over 34 months in 2016 and again in 2018. I would also find it highly unlikely that he hasn't received additional work on that same throwing shoulder in 2017 and in the current offseason, stuff that wouldn't have been reported. He also just had a major foot surgery to repair his Lisfranc injury in 2019, which to me, that's nothing. But of course, there's one huge note here, and that is that we're in a weird year with this COVID situation. Teams can't currently send doctors and get medicals on players. And if Cam Newton were actually healthy, he would have been signed already. So that has escalated this whole thing. But that said, it'd be one thing if Cam had a couple fluky injuries, but then showed the ability to bounce back and play at a high level. But unfortunately, dating back to no other point in time than November 8th, 2018, after this gruesome hit by TJ Watt directly on Cam Newton's throwing shoulder, remember, a shoulder that had already received a surgery at this time, Cam has shown no ability to recover. His arm talent, frankly, has vanished. His throwing mechanics have completely broken, and he's even suffered other injuries since. Simply put, you'd be kidding yourself if you said Cam Newton has been anywhere close to not just a starting caliber quarterback, but a functional NFL quarterback since this moment. In this time, Cam Newton is 0-8 as a starter. He's been benched or sent to IR for the remainder of 2 seasons, 2 different seasons. And in those 2 consecutive seasons, Kyle Allen, a quarterback, now Dwayne Haskins' backup in Washington, functioned as a legitimate spark plug for this offense and an instant improvement at quarterback for what Cam Newton was bringing to the table. And when NFL teams look at his last 4 starts over 2 different seasons now, 2 seasons where he has left the team for injury for the remainder of the season, they see these results. In the last 4 starts of Cam Newton's career over 2 seasons, 92 completions on 160 attempts. That is 57.5% completion percentage. But much more important than that, 6.05 yards per attempt, would have ranked 27th out of 32 in the NFL last year. On 160 attempts in 4 games, he has thrown 0 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, an 0-4 record, 242 yards per game when he's throwing 40 passes a game. But perhaps the most revealing stat of them all, of these 160 attempts in his last 4 starts over 2 seasons, 2 of which when his shoulder was supposedly healthy in 2019, only 13 passes out of 160 attempts traveled more than 15 yards downfield. 92% of his throws have been short passing attempts. And that's not even starting to break down how shoddy his throwing mechanics have become in this time to compensate for these shoulder injuries, something I covered in my video from last September when I warned everyone that Cam Newton just might not be long for this league, almost a year ago. So I'm going to show these 13 attempts. I'm going to let your own eyes prove my point here for me. Keep in mind though, as you watch these throws, in 2019, Cam's throwing arm was supposedly healthy. Who can possibly sit here and say it's just going to magically go back to the way it was 2 full orbits of the sun ago? And that's all I'm going to say. That's the video. I'm not trying to crush the hopes and dreams of any huge Cam Newton fans out there. And I'm not a doctor, but to me, it seems barring some miraculous physical recovery, the tough reality is that Cam Newton is very, very likely never going to play at even a starting caliber level again. And I pray I'm wrong. I hope Cam Newton comes back and is a world beater and destroys the league and makes me look like a total clown. But the collapse of Cam Newton has been building up far before the 2020 offseason and his release from Carolina and everyone crying about him not getting signed. I really think football media and NFL fans have been blind to a lot of this stuff for far too long. So that's why I felt the need to make this video. I hope you found it informative. I hope Cam Newton proves me wrong. Enjoy the film.